Hello everyone, welcome to Iran, and in this video again I'm here to show you a new project for big data with respect to Azure Data Factory and its related services. So let's talk about it, guys. So in this project I'm going to show you that how you can try to transfer a data from a CSV file, or maybe if you have a data lake and inside that you have a CSV file to a SQL. So that is a whole agenda for this entire project, which I'm going to show you in a practical way. Plus, I will be a little bit quick in this particular project without spending much of time so that you all will be able to grasp the concept. Okay. So to do that, let me share my screen, and I believe my screen is visible to all of you. Okay. So my screen is visible to all of you. Okay. So now here, what we can do is, so first of all, we have to transfer a data. Let me write it down, guys. So we have to transfer a data from, let's suppose, uh, we have a Azure data lake system to a SQL, Azure SQL database. So this is a place where we have to transfer the data, and in between, so we are going to use Azure Data Factory. So Azure Data Factory, where we are going to create the pipeline. So fine, let's try to understand how we can do this entire process and how we can try to transfer data from this place to this place. Again, this is going to be very quick and we are not going to invest much time in terms of doing a setup, as most of us are already aware about the Azure. And if you're not aware about it, so please go back and try to watch a previous recording so that you all will be able to understand it in a better way, right? And you will be able to save the time. So the very first thing is, so we have to create a data storage account, which we have already created in my previous video. So here I am, and inside a data storage, so there is basically, right? So there is basically a container inside this one, and I'm going to do one thing. So I'm going to create a new container over here to store my CSV file so that I will be able to, dump this particular data from this Azure container or Azure data storage to a SQL system. So, okay, let me write it down something over here, guys. So I can try to say CSV file storage, and then I can try to write maybe for SQL, so that I will be able to understand just by looking into the name, because I have so many like a different services which I have already created. So CSV file storage for a SQL. Okay. Now I'm going to upload one file over here. So let me browse this file, and this is the same file I'm going to use, which I have used in my previous session. So student success data. So student depression data set. So this is the data which I'm going to use. So I'm going to use this data. I'm going to read this data. I'm going to create a schema inside a SQL server, and then I'm going to dump a data. Now, to do that, so this data is ready. So basically, this particular part is ready. So inside this Azure Data Lake services that we have, so we have our data set. Now we have to think about the SQL system, the second one, right? So what I can do is I can try to go over here inside a home, and then I can try to search for the SQL database services. You can try to configure it just by doing a simple click. So you don't have to do much, but yeah. So it is going to take some time. So keeping that in a mind, so I have already created some SQL database, as you can see over here. So I can go over here. I can try to log in inside this one. So query editor, and inside that I am going to log in. So Sudhanshu is ID, and I'm going to put up my password over here. Okay. So click on OK, and if my login ID and password is fine, so in that case, I will be able to get into this one. Now here, so I have to create a table basically, right? I have to create basically a table. Now, so that I will be able to read a data from a CSV, and then I will be able to load a data over here inside this particular table. Now, to create a table, so I have already created a schema. So I have already created a create table statement, guys. So here I'm going to execute it, and whatever column that I had inside my CSV dataset, based on that I have created this particular column and a respective this particular table and the respective columns. So I can just try to click on run, and the name of the table is student depression. So query succeeded and I'm able to create a table. Now, if you are going to do select star from this particular table, you will not be able to get anything. For example, so if I'm doing maybe select star from this particular table, so it is not going to give me anything. Query succeeded, affected 0 rows, and I'm not able to get any kind of a data, right? So what I have to do is, so I have to create a pipeline so that I will be able to transfer the data between my Azure data lake to this particular Azure database SQL system. Fine. So I'll just go to my home tab, or maybe I can just cancel this out. I can just try to go to my home tab, and then I can try to, so let me leave this part. So then I can try to launch ADF, Azure Data Factory. So wherever we have a data factory, so this is the data factory which I have already created in my previous class. So launch the studio. So inside this studio, I have to build the entire pipeline. So step by step, so I'm going to build the pipeline. So first of all, what you have to do is, so you have to go inside manage tab, and here, so we have to create a link services. So linking for my SQL system and linking for my this data lake system. Okay, fine. Let's try to create it. So here I can click on new, and then first of all for Azure Data Lake Gen 2, I'm going to select. This is going to be very, very quick, and continue. And let me move, or maybe I can try to minimize myself so that you will not feel disturbed. So here Azure Data Lake Storage is a default name. I can try to change it. So Data Lake with CSV for student success. So this is the name which I have given so that I will be able to understand in a later stage. Then account key, all these things are fine. This is something that we have already done. And pay as you go, if you're like using a free version, that's completely fine. And then we can try to use a storage account name. Now, what was the storage account name that we had? So let's go back and check out. So Azure Data Storage, Euron. This is something that I have created, right? So this is the storage account which I have created. So Azure Data. So this is the storage account. Let me reconfirm. So Azure Data Euron storage account. Inside that we had a container. So CSV file storage. Okay. So this is basically Azure Data Storage Euron. So this is the name that I had. So I'm going to like select that particular one. So Azure Data Storage Euron. Fine. Done. Now, so I can try to maybe test my connection, and once my connection test is successful, as you can see, it's successful one, then I can try to click on create. So one linkage is done. Now I can try to create a second linkage for a SQL system. So I can try to search for SQL, and you have to select Azure SQL database because this is where we have to sync our data. So this is where we have to upload the data. So here I can click on continue very quickly. Azure subscription, pay as you go. In case of free, go ahead with the free. And then this is my server name and my database name. It is going to load. So if you remember, sorry, this is a pay as you go Azure SQL database. Fine, fine. Then server name is this, and database name Azure Agent Fact. Okay, this is the database name. Authentication type SQL authentication. Username I'm going to give SUDHANSHU, and then password. So whatever password that I have set, I'm going to give. Okay, fine. Now, so I can leave all the things as it is. I can try to click on test connection, and as you can see, it is testing a connection and it's successful. Now, so I can try to create. So linkage we are able to create. Simple linkage we are able to create. And I haven't changed the name for this one, but that's completely fine. We can try to remember this is the database 2 connection that we have created. So linkage is done. Now I can go over here inside the author tab, and then I can try to create a data set. Okay, so data set I can try to create for a lake as well as for a SQL for both. So linkage for both is done. For this one it's done, and for this one it's done. Now I have to create a data set for both so that I will be able to map it. Now here, so I can click and then I can try to click on new data set and then lake. So Azure Dataset Lake Gen 2, I can try to select, and then what is a format of a data that we have. So we have basically a CSV data. Yeah. So we have basically a CSV data, and that I have used even before, and even in my today's class, I'm going to use the same data set. So here, linkage service, so delimited text, or I can say student depression. Okay, this student depression CSV, maybe I can try to name it. Linkage service wise, so I can try to take a linkage, so data lake with this one. So this is the data lake linkage that we are trying to create with the data set. So fine, I can try to create that, and maybe I can try to select, so CSV file for basically SQL. So here is my CSV file, student data set, depression data set, which is having like a 27,000 records. Now 27,000 plus records we have, and click on OK. And basically this is a data set which I'm able to create. Now let's see, so whether I have to change something over here. So everything looks fine to me schema wise. So yes, it is able to import all the schema, ID, gender, each and everything it is able to import. As you can see, ID, gender, city, person, everything it is able to import. So okay, it is able to import. ID, gender, age, city, profession, academic pressure, work pressure, CGPA, everything it is able to import. Now, so quickly we can try to create this data set even for a SQL. So new data set, and then I can try to select a SQL. I can try to create a linkage and data set both. So I can try to name it a student depression SQL data set. Okay. Now, so SQL database 2, this is the database 2 connection I'm going to take. And then table wise, so table, if you remember, student depression table we have already created. So yes, we are going to select it, and then we are going to click on OK, so that it will be able to create a linkage for this particular data set. So let's click, and even this one is done. I don't have to do anything. Click on test connection, maybe just to double check. Schema wise, so yes, that is completely fine. Schema wise parameter, because this is the same schema which I have created while creating a table. Okay, so data set is done for this both the steps. Linkage is done first of all, then data set is done for both the steps, for a data lake as well as for SQL. Now I have to create a pipeline so that it can connect both of these things, right? So it is going to connect a source, it is going to connect the sink. So this is something which I have to do. So I can quickly click on pipeline, click on new pipeline, and then I can try to select copy data. So copy data, I'm going to bring it drop down, and copy data. So lake to SQL. This is the name which I'm going to give. Pipeline name is lake to SQL copy. Okay. So this is a name which I have given. Now let's do one thing. So let's try to check and let's try to configure accordingly. So you can just try to leave each and everything as it is. Even in my previous lecture, I talked about it, that what is the meaning of each and every parameters. Now source wise, we have to configure the source. So source wise, what is a data set source we have created? So if you remember, we have created student depression CSV, and we have created a student depression SQL data set. So source wise, from where to where we have to dump a data. So we have to take this as a source, which is nothing but Azure blob. Fine. This is the source. And you can even click on preview data. If everything works fine, then it is going to give you the preview of the data. A little bit, some of the column, not some of the column, all the columns and some of the rows it is going to showcase. Okay, let's close it. And let's keep everything as it is. I don't think that we have to modify anything. Now let's try to map a sink. Sink wise, this is the data set, right? We have created for sink. So sink data set wise, this is the sink that I have, and we can try to change not anything. So we don't want to change anything. So we are looking for the insertion. That's completely fine. Bulk is a table lock. No. So everything looks fine to me. Table option, user string, auto create table. So yeah, you can select even this auto creation. So if table doesn't exist, it will be able to create a table automatically. Simple. So I have already created a table, so I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, in case of like you don't have a table, it will create automatically for you. Okay, now mapping. So here, import schema, and you have to click this option for sure so that it will be able to do a mapping. And even most of the time, you are going to face an error with respect to a mapping. So as you can see, so when I clicked on import schema, it is destination wise. So yeah, this is the table that we have. So it is able to fetch all the destination from a table. Now this is a source, which is nothing but a CSV file, and it is not able to do a mapping for all the column. It is not able to understand that which one is which. So maybe we can try to do a mapping in a manual way. So academic pressure, because of the space and because of the different kind of a name. So work pressure is work pressure. So see, in my data set, it's a work space pressure. The table which I have created, so over there column name is work underscore pressure. That is the reason it was not able to map. So I can just try to do a manual mapping for the very first time. So study satisfaction, okay, fine. Then my job satisfaction, okay, job, okay, job satisfaction. Now my sleep duration, where is my sleep duration? Sleep, okay, sleep duration. Now dietary habit, so dietary, okay, this is the dietary habit. Now, suicidal thoughts. Okay, that's scary. Suicidal thoughts. Okay, so have you ever had the suicidal? This is the column name. It's a big one. Work study hour. Now financial stress. Okay, and family history. Family history. Okay. So now I'm able to do a correct mapping, as you can see, right? I'm able to do a correct mapping. Now, so everything looks fine to me, guys. I'm able to do a perfect mapping over here. And now let's try to click on debug so that it is going to run the entire pipeline for you. So before publishing it, as of now, I have not published anything. I'm just trying to, do mapping, and then after that, so I'm just trying to run it in a debug mode. Once it will be successful, maybe I can go ahead and I can try to add a trigger the way I have already done that, so that whenever data comes, automatically system is going to run the process, same pipeline, and then it will be done. And if there is some error which I'm going to encounter, so in that case, obviously, I'll have to fix it. So let's see, now I can try to increase my circle box. Okay. So this is fun, guys, and just try to do it by yourself. Then only you will be able to understand. Okay, it succeeded. Fine. Now, so let's go and run the same command once again. So select star from student depression. And now we have a data. Simple, right? We have a data. Successfully, we are able to read a data as per the procedure that we have defined. So successfully, we are able to read a data from CSV, and then we are able to dump a data or sync a data into my SQL database. Simple, right? Now I can try to add a trigger. So if I would like to, keep on running it multiple times, so as and when it is going to come, otherwise I can leave it. So I have already shown you how to use a trigger, and there are multiple different kind of triggers, but yeah, so I have already shown you the basic one, the schedule one, and I believe you all will be able to add a trigger. Then there is a monitor tab, so over there you can go and you can try to monitor. And yes, my last trigger which I have created, so still it's running and trying to do something for me. Okay, so with that, thank you so much, guys, and see you again in my next video. Again, just to get a best outcome out of anything, do it by yourself. Without that, you will not be able to learn anything. And one more thing, guys. So we have already launched a batch of a big data. There are so many batches that we have launched, not just one. So yeah, there is a big data batch where I'm teaching each and everything in very depth and detail in a practical mode, not just a theory part. Obviously, I'll try to cover a theory part as and when it is required. But you can go ahead with this big data batch if you are interested into a big data, and you can check out the syllabus. I have already created a detailed video about this entire batch introduction. And if you have your own plus, in that case, you don't have to worry about anything. Simply, you can start it. Okay, you have access of each and everything. So that comes to the last part. Thank you so much, everyone. See you again in my next video.